All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Alex. I'm one of the co-presidents of ISSS, and today I'll just be talking about what a CTF is, because it's like probably something you haven't heard before. It's not something that a lot of people know about, so we just want to give a quick intro about like how they work, how to compete in one, stuff like that. So what is a CTF? Capture the Flag, or CTF, is a security-focused competition in which teams solve various challenges from different fields of security. When you solve each challenge, you get a flag, and a flag is just like a special string of text, and we'll kind of talk about this later, that you can turn in for points, and then the team with the most points wins. So the way that a CTF works is that you have like a main CTF website where you go to get the challenge prompts and you go to turn in the flags. There's also a leaderboard, some rules, and then the challenges page. Usually the CTF challenges are divided into categories based on the topic, and then the problems worth more points are typically more difficult. The only exception to this is some CTFs use dynamic scoring, where all problems start off at the same point level, and then like as more people solve it, the points levels goes down, and that's for everyone. Like it'll take off points retroactively from the first people who solved it. And then, yeah, so that's just basically to represent like more people have solved it, so it's easier, so it should be worth fewer points. And then a few CTFs give out bonus points for being the first team to solve a challenge. It's usually called like first blood. So they might give out some bonus points, but it's not super common. To start a challenge, basically you go to challenges page and there's like, normally it's like little boxes for each challenge. So you click on the challenge and you read whatever prompt there is. And then if there are any files you need to solve it, they will also give you all the files and links necessary to solve that challenge. And then the next part is just to complete the challenge. So CTF challenges are very open-ended. And so the way that you solve that challenge is up to you. While the problem writers usually have an intended solution, sometimes there are unintended solutions. And you can use any sort of resource you want. So like the internet, friends, class notes. I know that like we have some security classes at UT, and some of that stuff might help you out in CTFs. But basically it's free reign. And then the last step is get the flag. So you should be given a flag format, so you know like what you're looking for, and so you know when to stop, and you know you finish the problem. So for example, all of the RUT internal CTFs are actually UT flag and then 2 curly brackets and then like some random text so that it's like hard to fake the flag. Actually, the UT CTF format is what we use for our yearly CTF that is open to everyone in the world, not just our internal ones. So you take that flag. Most of the time it'll be like the name of the CTF and then curly brackets, or like some word in curly brackets. So you just copy and paste that flag. You put it back into the box on the website with all the challenges, and then you get your points. So these are the main categories that you'll see on different CTFs, although not all CTFs will have all these categories. Sometimes they'll like mix some together or like count some under under other categories. So binary exploitation, cryptography, forensics, miscellaneous, networking, reverse engineering, and then web. So we'll go into each of these. So binary exploitation is also called binary or pwn or binexp. So basically you're given a computer program that's purposely written with flaws in them that you have to exploit. So these typically require knowledge about computer architecture. So here at UT, that's CS429, operating systems, which is CS439, Linux, etc. So those are like some of the things that you might need to know. So these type of problems are usually on the more difficult side, just because they have a lot more prerequisite knowledge to complete them. But they're definitely very fun, very interesting. And the type of tools that you would be using to solve a binary problem are your terminal, the GNU GNU debugger, however you want to pronounce that, also called GDB, which is something you use in CS429, so you might be familiar with that. And then this tool called Jeff, which is just makes GDB way more useful and cooler. The next category is cryptography, also referred to as crypto, where you deal with codes, ciphers, encryption, stuff like that. You might have to implement a crypto system and they'll like tell you what algorithm you're implementing or something like that. You might have to exploit a weakness in a crypto system. You might have to undo a cipher or encryption, or even figure out how a custom crypto system works. And so these can range from very easy to very hard. Typically the harder problems have a lot of like higher level math involved, but the beginner problems are pretty approachable, and like they don't need a specific type of computer to solve it or a specific operating system. Let me just check chat. Oh, it's just the copy pasta. Awesome. I thought it might be questions. So some tools you might use for cryptography are CyberChef, which is a cool website made by GCHQ, which is like one of the British like government agencies that basically you can put in different data and it'll have like different converters for like base 64 or some other sort of crypto system. And then Sage Math is useful for like the harder, more mathy problems. So forensics, it deals with files and hiding information. You might have to fix broken files, crack passwords, find hidden messages inside of files, or do reconnaissance on a fake person, which means you find out info about them. This category is very vague, so you might see a lot of different things. Typically, forensics problems are on the easier side, but they may require special tools. So some good tools that you could use on any of them are XXD, which will show you the hex of a file, the hex values that make up a file. Binwalk, which will like show you any objects inside of a file, and then the command file. Sorry, these are all terminal commands. And then file, which just tells you what type of file a file is. And we'll talk about this in later talks, but like the extension of a file doesn't always mean it's that type of file. And especially in CTF challenges, they like to mess around with stuff like that. So it's always good to check what type of file it actually is. So miscellaneous or MISC, as the name implies, this could be pretty much anything. Creators put any problem that doesn't quite fit into the other categories of miscellaneous. A few things that are pretty common though are esoteric programming languages. So these are very specific programming languages you probably never heard of, like they were just made for fun, not actually to be useful. So one of them is called Shakespeare, and it literally like looks like text from a Shakespeare play. Or one of them, I forget the name, but basically you can only use dog commands. It might be called dog, like fetch or sit or stay. And so yeah, esoteric languages are usually like a pretty common problem that you'll see. Another one is map related challenges for some reason. So a lot of challenges have to do with map locations, like lat long coordinates and stuff like that. So some tools that you could use to help solve these would be esolangs.org, which is just like a wiki of all of the esoteric programming languages. And then for map related challenges, there's this website called What 3 Words, where it represents basically the globe in different squares. I think they're like 3 mile by 3 mile squares or 3 kilometers by 3 kilometer squares. I don't know. It divides up the world into squares, and each square has a unique like identifier that's made of just like 3 normal dictionary words. So for some reason, I've seen that multiple times in CTF, so that's just like a useful thing. 3 meters by 3 meters is so okay, yeah. And then obviously another helpful tool is just Google. So like a lot of times you'll get hints from the prompt or the challenge title that you can like Google and try to find where to start on problems. So networking problems deal with information sent across networks between computers. So you may have to look at some captured packets, and packets are like information that was sent over a network, the way that they're like packaged up, and the like units of information that we send across the network to see what was being sent. Or you may have to figure out a custom protocol, and protocols are just like specific formats that computers use to communicate with each other. So like HTTP is like a protocol you may have heard of, which is just hypertext transfer protocol. It's like what we use to look at websites. They're usually on the more medium to hard side difficulty wise, just because like they require a little bit of like prerequisite knowledge, just knowing some networking stuff and things like that. And so the tools that you'd be using here are Wireshark, which is a program that allows you to look into, so packet captures are like a specific type of file. It's like .pcap. So if you ever see a .pcap file, it's like a packet capture, and you should open it in Wireshark. So Wireshark lets you look at packet captures, and you can do a lot of like really powerful stuff with it, like filter through them and like look at what's the information inside the packets and stuff like that. Another thing you'll use is netcat, or the command is sometimes shortened to NC. So this is again a terminal command. It basically just allows you to connect to a specific computer and maybe a specific port on that computer. Next category is reverse engineering, also called reveng or rev, or I don't know if it's reveng or reveng, but you know. So you're given a computer program, and you basically, most of the time, you just have to figure out what it does. So you may have to look into the problem to see what inputs it needs to give out a certain flag. Like one problem I solved one time was like, you need to give it 2 specific numbers, and then if they multiply to this specific product, it was like, you have to give it 3 and 5 so you can get to 15. And then the program will check if the answer is 15, and then it'll only give you the flag. So these problems are usually medium to hard difficulty, again, because they require a little bit of knowledge of like computer architecture or operating systems. And some tools that you might use are Ghidra, IDA, and Cutter. So these are all programs that will let you disassemble a like compiled program file and look at like the different commands that are inside of it. It won't let you see like the code that wrote that file, but it can get you pretty close and it's very useful. Yeah, Ghidra and Cutter are free. IDA is very expensive, but if you like find it somewhere, then it's a very handy tool. Ghidra was made by the US government, by the NSA, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and then Cutter is just free. And then I think this is the last category I have is web. So this is everything related to websites and web applications. So you may have to exploit a vulnerable website to give you secret information. Like if you did our intro challenge at our kickoff, that was kind of what a web problem will be like. So you were like trying to exploit the website to give you like the flag or the login or stuff like that. You might also have to trick a website into thinking you're the administrator. Obviously there's more than that, but those are some common ones. They can range from easy to very hard. So it's basically all over the place. There's a lot of beginner friendly web challenges, but then you can also get like super hard if you want to. So useful tools are developer tools in your browser. So like when you right click on a web page and say inspect element, what that opens up is called like developer tools. And so there's a lot of really interesting information in there, like the source code of the website, any files that the website has, cookies. Yeah, good old inspect element. It's actually, you know, it's fun to play with normally, but it's actually very useful for CTFs. Another useful tool is called Burp Suite, which is like, you know, weird name, but basically what it lets you do, is sit between your browser and like sending out information to the internet. So when you go to send a request to a website, you can like catch that request and edit information in it, which is pretty cool. So you might use that to like, if the CTF problem is you have to like, you're on some online shop, fake shop, and you need to have like so much money to be able to buy the flag. You can use Burp Suite to catch that request, change the amount of money you have, and now suddenly you have like the $2 million it takes to buy the flag, and that's how you would solve it. So yeah, those are all of the main categories of CTF problems. So now what we're going to do is basically we've set up a pretty small, very quick little CTF on ctf.ieee.io. So you can go ahead and go there to try your hand at a CTF. And basically the problems shouldn't be super difficult. It's mostly to get you familiar with like the format of a CTF, like what you need to click, what you need to download, all that sort of stuff. But does anyone have any questions? If you're on some sort of, okay, so how excited, if you're on some sort of online juice shop, there is a, so there's this company called OWASP, like OWASP, that does a lot of security related stuff. And they have something called OWASP Juice Shop, geez, which is basically like this super vulnerable like web app of a fake juice shop that they wrote. And so you can go there and practice a bunch of like web related CTF stuff, which is pretty cool. So yeah.